Tori Lincoln. I'm the Senior Director of Publisher Relations with Flurry, a Yahoo company, as of this week. Flurry was just purchased by Yahoo. We don't have a lot of time here, but we want to talk a little bit about some recent growth and usage trends that we see in mobile, and also kind of a little bit about some of the trends we see in monetization. So just a real quick note on Flurry. So Flurry really has three components to our business. So at the base, we have Flurry Analytics. We are the largest mobile analytics tool in the world. We've got over 540,000 applications with the Flurry SDK installed. And that accounts for over 1.4 billion devices with the Flurry SDK. In addition to that, we have our advertising business, which helps developers and marketers reach the right audiences. And we also have our publishing business, which helps developers monetize their applications, both through our RTB exchange as well as through video. So, in the past 6 years, since Flurry has been measuring app activity, we've obviously seen explosive growth. That's pretty clear to everybody. But all sectors of the app universe have grown pretty dramatically, but every year there's really been one sector that has kind of continued to push that growth even higher. And here you can see a few examples. So music in 2008, to gaming in 2009 and 10, media and entertainment, social networking, logistics and travel, retail, and then in 2013, messaging. Obviously messaging with WhatsApp and many others has been much more in the news and driving a lot of usage in mobile in 2014. And right now we're seeing over 170 billion sessions per month measured by Flurry, so an incredible amount of sessions worldwide. So obviously there's a lot of mobile app usage happening, and we want to take a look at whether that usage was happening in app or in mobile web. And I think it's become fairly common knowledge that app usage has greatly surpassed mobile web usage, and you can see here that now 86% of time spent in mobile is spent in app. And that figure last year was actually 86%, so we saw 6% year-over-year growth. Probably not surprising is the fact that gaming is still the number one category. So 32% of time spent in all of mobile is spent in games. Also, we see some very large, significant players like Facebook. 17% of time spent in mobile is on Facebook. And then YouTube in the entertainment category with 4% of time spent. That actually equals all other entertainment apps put together. So Facebook, or YouTube obviously with a very significant share of entertainment and video. So we all know that mobile is a worldwide activity, but I think the slide is pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, you can see that from a usage perspective, from a measurement perspective, the United States and China are by far and away the largest markets. What's also interesting is that China, for us, recently surpassed the US. We got over 330 million devices in China using Flurry. And what's also kind of interesting is the fact that we have really no presence in China. We have nobody on the ground, we've done no marketing, haven't really publicized ourselves in China, yet we still have 330 million. So again, China growing at a rapid clip, even more rapid than the rest of the world. Okay, so people are spending a lot of time with mobile, but just how much time? So we've divided the Flurry audience into three different categories here. We're returning regular users, folks that are opening an application on a mobile device 0 to 16 times a day. Super users that are opening an application on their device 16 to 60 times a day. And then super users, folks that are opening an application 60 plus times a day. A lot. And what we see is that all these categories are growing. Regular users, 23%, super users, 55% year-over-year. But when it comes to this addicts, it's 123% year-over-year growth. So you've got 176 million devices with folks that are checking an app 60 or more times a day on their device. When you think about that, there's a lot of talk about wearables. But if you have your mobile device in your hand and you're looking at it that much, then in many ways it is sort of a de facto where it's clearly in front of you virtually all the time. So who are these mobile apps? And we want to take a quick look at men versus women and how they stack up in terms of their They tend to be heavy gamers. Both men and women are 6 and 7 times exponential. They also tend to be parents. So parenting and education for both men and women, 7x the norm. And then kind of gender stereotypically, the women tend to be moms, and then the men tend to be into cars. So it's interesting. So when we look at the unit usage for mobile, I think there's this traditional stereotype of the gamer as the 17-year-old boy in his basement with a 12-pack of Mountain Dew playing games all night. But the reality is when it comes to mobile, women are really dominant. So we find that women are making 31% more in-app purchases than men. They're spending 35% more time, and in addition to that, they stay home. They have higher 7-day retention. So women really have become, in many ways, from a time usage perspective and a money perspective, the dominant force in the game. When you look at the top game categories, it's worth noting that men are actually dominant in only 6 of those categories. The rest of these game categories are all neutral or dominated by women. And when you look at the top 2 with the most time spent, solitaire and management and simulation games, you see that women dominate both of those. Okay, let's switch gears quickly to monetization. So when you look at the early days of mobile advertising, we began advertising in mobile just like we did in most other things, and that's using context, right? So we would place our ads and we would try to reach somebody who was into a certain category or product in an app of that category or product. However, with the advent of big data, we're able to layer in a lot of other different factors to more intelligently target the right users, right? So demographics, location, time of day, device type, behavior, and what we have flirted with that personas. And what that means is an actual real look at how much somebody is using a certain technical application. So again, if they're checking a travel application 15 times a day, and they have 5 travel applications on their phone, the chances are they're probably a frequent traveler or business traveler. So when you combine this big data capability with RTV, real-time bidding, the ability to actually target a user, a specific user, with a single impression in real time with all of this data, we moved a long way from simple context to very precise targeting to specific users. So amongst the 7,000 publishers, developers that we have on the Flare platform, we decided to take a look and ask them what kind of ad formats they're looking at, what kind of ad formats they're using currently. So just as targeting has evolved very rapidly, so we see that the ad format is evolving quite a bit as well. So right now, 55% of users we surveyed are using banners. And 6 to 12 months from now, that number is going to drop pretty dramatically. Much maligned banner, both on the web and mobile, continues to be maligned. Interstitials are suffering the same fate. People are planning to use interstitials less in the next 6 to 12 months. Video, both rewarded and non. People plan to use video more. The non-rewarded would tend to be generally non-game apps, and the rewarded would tend to generally be gaming apps. So video has proven time and time again to be more effective in the past 10 years. We've seen a rise in use of video advertising growing pretty dramatically. But the area that's going to see the biggest percentage growth overall is in-feed or native ads. And the last panel was talking a little bit about the effectiveness of native and the ability to actually intermingle the content and look and feel of your app with the advertising to make a less invasive or less intrusive user experience. In many ways, really make the ad complementary to the application. So when you think about that combination of really precise targeting and these evolving ad formats that prove to be both engaging but also less intrusive, I think it's pretty clear that mobile advertising has a very bright and fast evolving future. So that's really it from my perspective. I don't know if we have any additional time for questions. Yes? Okay. A couple more questions if anyone has them. Yes.
What's the revenue monetization strategy? How does it compare native ads versus standard ads?
Yeah. So the question was, how does native advertising compare to standard banners and interstitials? in terms of monetization. And to be honest, I think that the answer is that it's sort of too early to tell. Clearly, if you look at the biggest player in native advertising, which is Facebook, they've been pretty successful, right? But Facebook didn't really have a whole lot of banner advertising prior, so it's kind of hard to measure that. But again, I think that when you look at how targeted Facebook's advertising is, and also how integrated it can work with Google, it's pretty clear that they've done a good job. But in terms of an apples-to-apples comparison, I would tend to say that native is likely going to be return more value. But again, I think the results are a little bit too early to tell. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. I'll be over at the Flurry table if you want to chat. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Tori. So we only have one panel left. I'd just like to remind everybody